Hey everybody at the Dutch Design Week. My name is Anouk Wipprecht. I am a fashion tech designer. I combine fashion with technology. So I use a lot of like microcontrollers and motors and sensors and all kinds of cool stuff in my designs. And yeah, I mainly live in the United States of America. I'm doing a lot of jobs here and I have a lot of clients. So I've been working over here since 2012 around this time. And yeah, I grew up in the Netherlands. I'm really fascinated by like mechanics. I loved always like the windmills and anything just mechanical and electronic. So I was always very like fascinated by that. So I made it my profession, but also by and through combining it with fashion, which is another fascination for me. Fashion for me is expressive, something that we can express ourselves through, and something that we can communicate something very personal from ourselves through, sort of, you know. So I found it very interesting, and throughout my my study time studying, I wanted to combine both the sort of the fashion elements that I got fascinated by, and also the mechanical and electronic elements. So I started to combine that around the beginning of 2000 and merge basically these two fields together. So I'm not the only one doing this. There's a lot of cool people in this field, and a lot of actually are from the Netherlands. You have Pauline van Dongen. She does a lot of innovation and research using solar and solar panels. Marina Toeters is another one. She does a lot of interesting work in the fashion tech field. So there's a lot of like interesting people in the Netherlands that are focused on a little bit more like sort of hybrid professions, if I can call it that way. Things that are a little bit different than the normative industries like fashion, like technology, but really blending multiple things together. And I think that's kind of a really cool thing about if you're talking about the landscape of the Netherlands and what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve using innovation in different ways. And I think the Dutch especially are a little bit more freaky in that kind, and like want to go into more the unknown, the things that are not there yet, sort of, you know, and look deeper into that. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the things that I do, and I'm going to pull up some slides for that to do so. And talk a little bit over it. So one of my designs is a robotic spider dress. So it is a dress that has robotic elements in it, and it uses proximity sensors. So when you step in the proxemics into the personal space of this design, the design is reacting. So it is literally mounting out. It's attacking, you know. And for me, this design is quite interesting. I have a few versions, a laser cut version, a 3D printed version. But for me, this notion of personal space, and as an artist, being able to make a statement about personal space is really interesting, because not only from the notion of like discussing personal space, like what is yours, what is others, sort of, you know, but also what I started to notice when I travel around with this design is that really different cultures have different personal spaces. Because when I present the spider dress in the Netherlands, people come up very quickly, very close by, versus when I present it in America, I always say it's more a gentleman distance or a gentlewoman distance from this design. So I can see in both my data, but also in the behavior of the dress, how people are really considering personal space differently when that is here or in Asia or in different countries, because this design is traveling around a lot. And that is quite interesting if you're talking about these spaces and preservation of the space and our personal space, something that is really ours, sort of, you know. So the dress works in different modes. So it measures the intimate, the personal, the social, and the public space that we have around us. And those are all having considerative dimensions towards each other. So my sensor is seeing that and is basically measuring this. And that makes a decision. So there's a little bit of machine learning kind of integrated in that, makes a decision based on the distance that the people have towards the design. So it combines sensors, it combines microcontrollers, it combines robotics on the body, a little bit of machine learning. So it's a really broad mix of all these things together. And I think that makes the work in this field really interesting, because Yeah, I can start my day using a soldering iron or a sewing machine, or start to 3D print, use a 3D printing machine to 3D printer to print out my parts, or a laser cutter, right? I can start with tools or machines, and from the creative process, it's always something different, and it's really fun, sort of, and also when you're busy with engineering or with programming, you always learn, right? So that is something that's I really like about this profession, sort of. I have other designs that start to smoke. The more people that are around the body, around the person wearing the dress. I have dresses that create cocktails. I work with a girl called Victoria Modesta. She has a prosthetic leg. I create legs with her and for her. So it's always something different. I collaborate a lot with companies, so that can be Intel. I work with Microsoft, Swarovski, Cirque du Soleil, all kinds of different companies. And working with each company is also very different, which is really fun. They might have a piece of technology that they're promoting. They might want to have me beta test some kind of hardware or software elements. So yeah, my day is always very different, sort of, and that is really, really fun for me. So the other thing that I try to do with my designs, some of them are a little bit like animal inspired, some are very whimsical, some are a little bit more statemental, like the spider dress, right? But what I also try to do is create some kind of extra layer of maybe having it inspired by biomimicry or animals or animal behavior. One part, because I really like that myself, I'm very fascinated by the animal kingdom and behaviors of animals, and just how different species are like socializing and playing and all of that stuff. The other thing is part of the reason that I create a little bit like animal inspired designs maybe might also be to get more like, for example, children and kids involved in technology. What I always say is that children are currently often using technology as seeing their phones, right? But they don't really see the hardware components or any wirings and all of that stuff. That is a little bit too far, because it's also minuscule, it's also small, right? So also with my designs, I try to connect back to like a younger community of getting more kids, and then especially more girls involved with electronics and technology, because historically, it's still kind of currently a problem that we still don't really have a really good gender balance in technology, right? In the world of technology. And though a lot of people are working towards this to get more people, and especially girls, into programming and mechanic engineering, all of that stuff, it doesn't go as fast. And one of the main problems is that I might be inspired and really like the mechanics of windmills and automatic cars and robots, right? But not everybody has that same connection to electronics and mechanics as I have, sort of, But a lot of girls do like fashion, so having the fashion element in there, what I'm trying to do is leapfrog more females and girls into this field by using sort of fashion as the engager, sort of, because normally it would be an analog dress, but now it's a dress based with all kinds of robotics and all kinds of like cool stuff embedded in there. And I do notice that is of a big interest of a lot of like females and girls and all of that stuff as well. So I do a lot of like workshops, lectures, trying to see and trying to find ways and trying to provoke ways to get more girls into this field, because it's just a really fun field to be in, because it's so explorative. We often think of technology as being something very boring, and that's historically has been a little bit from some kind, sort of, but really, if you dive into it and if you just start to understand what you can make with it, sort of, especially using like raw electronics and all of that stuff, it's just super fun. So that is always something that I have as my hidden agenda, to instigate more people to use electronics as well. So that is a little bit me and the things that I do. I've been doing this for 22 years now, so for a longer time. I started in the beginning of 2000, where electronics were really big, right? So my dress looked maybe nice from the front, but you turned around and there was this huge computer on the back of the body, right? which is not not super sexy. So yeah, now we're in a time that the electronics that we have and that we can work with are so tiny and so small that it's just opened up for so many opportunities of measuring brain signals, connecting that to dresses. How can your dresses react to emotions through heart rates, through fight or flight response, anything that we can measure from the body, right? And what does that do to society at large? If our garments are showcasing our emotions, is that a comfortable thing, or is that actually very uncomfortable, right? If you can, and if you would show everything that you feel to people, because we have this very poetic notion of garments guided by our emotions. That's a really super cool thing, but is it really? So those things I'm trying to explore with the designs that I make. So it's very like research and design based, and also like how can these designs live in a smart city, for example, right? What clothing do we wear in 5 years, 10 years, but also 20 or 50 years, right? How can that look like? So that's like one of my big fascinations there as well. So yeah, that is a little bit the things that I am focused on and that I'm doing. And I think that is in a broader sense what we are trying to do from Dutch design practice, not reconsider the past and things that already have been done, but consider the future and things that might be currently missing in society. How can technology be more emotive? How can it become more sensoric, sensitive, instead of overwhelming us currently, for example? So yeah, that is what I'm after. So yeah, that is it for me. I hope you enjoy your day and the rest of the Dutch Design Week. And you might see me later. Bye bye.